I'm going to do my best to not lose my composure here. It's going to be very difficult. I apologize in advance if I can't keep it together. I waited a bit to try to do this. I think it's affected a lot of people very deeply, and it's because of the man Charlie was. Charlie, at just 31 years old, had done more than most men ever do in a lifetime. There's a poem called "If" by Rudyard Kipling. It's my favorite. He embodied that. He embodied, if you read it, he embodied what that poem meant, and it's about being a man. And he rose to the occasion. He was a man. Probably the thing that doesn't get talked about with Charlie enough is that during a time where it was incredibly unpopular to talk about Jesus, Charlie did. And you really have to go backwards to remember where we were. We were at a time to remind people where faithlessness had become the norm on college campuses. It had become the norm in high schools. And our young people in America, and really globally, were turning away from God in a way that previous generations have not seen. And then Charlie comes along and he'd be the first one to say he didn't do this himself. It wasn't all him, but he was a big, big force on these campuses. And he talked about Jesus, and he spread the word, and he spread the hope of Jesus at every turn. At a time when, there's all these creators out there, influencers, whatever you want to call them, fearful of talking about it because they don't want to lose followers. They don't want to lose people who might like them by talking about God. Charlie was never afraid of that. In fact, he embraced the same things that Jesus embraced, and he learned from Jesus. Jesus wasn't afraid to go speak to crowds where he knew there would be people who hated him. Jesus knew the risks. Jesus knew it was possible. Jesus knew he would pay with his life. Charlie knew there would be risks associated with doing the same thing and speaking to crowds of people where people in that crowd hate him and want him to die. He knew that, and he did it. And he spoke about Jesus and about the values and convictions he had as a man. And he did it because he wanted a better world for his kids. For all that Charlie's done, I think if you ask him, like any dad, his greatest accomplishment is his kids. I think that's true for all of us. And we want the world to be better for our kids. We want it to be one where every child gets to have that beautiful, innocent, idyllic American childhood. Charlie wanted that desperately. Didn't matter if, despite what the media says, didn't matter what color that kid was or where they came from. He wanted great things for every child in this country, but especially his own. And so, if there's a lesson here, and there are many, but one we can all take, is that we cannot fear standing up to evil. We cannot fear facing it. We cannot fear speaking about Jesus at times or in areas where it might be unpopular. In fact, it's probably more important we do it in those times. In fact, it is more important that we do it in those times. And too many people have feared doing that, and Charlie didn't fear it. So you saw a revival happen, and he was partly responsible for that. You saw young people flocking to church. You saw a change on these campuses, a place where when Charlie started doing these college tours, the vast majority opposed him. To today, leading up to now, over this last year, you had these enormous crowds showing up of kids whose minds and hearts and souls had been changed by listening to and following Charlie. So a lesson for all of us is to carry that on. Carry on that legacy. Don't be fearful. Speak up in the face of evil, especially in the face of evil. But now I need to talk about how this happened. Because there was a terrible sickness at the core of all this. And it's one that I have been warning about for a long time. Charlie has warned about many times in the past. I have said for years, one of us was going to get shot. For years, I have said it. One of us was going to get shot. It was not a matter of if, it was a matter of when, who, and that's it. It was going to happen because the institutions that are supposed to protect people have not done it for a very long time. And I don't think people quite understand the level of vitriol, hate, and pure lunacy we face on a regular basis. And Charlie, much more than people like myself, okay? I get it daily, almost daily. At the very least, we get incredible threats on a weekly basis that are just disgusting. And it doesn't just go against me. People have threatened to rape and kill my family as well as me. But the justice system that we have is anything but a justice system. In fact, when Biden was president, when I handed over the doxing of my children, my minor children, to the FBI, I was later told it was prosecutorial discretion for them to not go after the adult who did that and who put their address on the internet in hopes that somebody would hurt them. I want you to think about that. There's nobody who can convince me that somebody's words should result in their life being taken. You could disagree with me. You could hate me. You could think I am the worst person that has ever existed. You could think that about Charlie. I could think that about any one of you. And that's as far as it should go. But unfortunately, there are psychotic people. And they have been driven deeper into the depths of their psychotic behavior because of the Democratic Party. And somebody has to say it. If we don't do it now, then it will not happen. We're not going to allow this to get steamrolled into a situation where everybody just says, oh, we hope everything, we send best wishes to everybody. That's not going to be good enough this time. The Democrats can't apologize now and try to move on and wiggle out of this. Their rhetoric created this. I just want to show you a sampling of names I have been called by rabid viewers of the mainstream legacy media. We get called every name in the book, from Nazi to fascist or whatever, and that is your right. You want to call us those names, as ludicrous as it is, you go right ahead. But here is the problem. When you have a political party and their entire news apparatus that acts as their lapdog regurgitating this and trying to normalize to people the dehumanization of a large chunk of the country because we are conservative Christians, this is what happens. The Democrats know this. They have to know this was going to happen. Their rhetoric, they have been warned countless times that it was going to result in this. Countless times. And after Trump was shot, we all told them this was it. This is the last chance to turn around on this rhetoric, and instead they doubled down. In the past hour, I have seen video after video of these psychotic leftists celebrating the death of Charlie.
There are a lot of people that are like, no matter what side of politics you're on, you should never celebrate something bad happening to someone. I, on the other hand, do cheer when bad things happen to bad people.
Charlie Kirk just got shot. Oh,
well, breaking news, folks. Seems somebody just took a shot at one of the Fanta-Fascist's favorite 5-mile-wide mouthpieces, Charles Chuckle Kirk.
I'm not saying she deserved it, but I'm saying God's timing is always right.
And goodness knows the wicked's lives are lonely.
This is a man in his early 30s who just got married not long ago to his beautiful wife, has 2 small children who will now never get to know their father as they grow up. The father that they need. And people are responsible, not just the shooter. Not just the shooter. There are active leftist groups that plan violence on a regular basis and have for a very long time. We all know it. And somehow they've been given a free pass by the Democrats when Biden was in office. And today they are still existing. And it is time for the Trump administration to right the wrongs of the Biden administration. And we need these people put in prison. Every last Antifa member, anyone who has organized violence against people because of their political beliefs, anybody who is plotting and scheming, and especially the people who are funding this, because we know there are shadow groups that have been funding this organized violence for too long. During BLM, they destroyed cities. Now they want to destroy individuals in hopes that they can bring us back to the brink and take this country into the depths of leftist hell. Well, I'm not going to sit by and shrink and hope that somebody else will take this fight on. Because you see, what they want, these violent psychopaths, what they want is for people like me and others in this space who have a large group of people who listen to what they say, they want us to sit down with our family and say, you know what, let somebody else take this fight on. We can't take this risk. We can't take the risk that you're the next one they target. We need you. And trust me, like I want to sit there and I want to have that conversation with my family. And I want to say, yeah, somebody else can do it. But the truth is, there's not enough people who want to. So we have to. But people need to get real about what the situation is and what time we are living in. This is not normal. This can never be normal. We've allowed it to be normal for too long, and it is time to be strong and clamp down on all of these groups who have fallen for this extremist trap set by the legacy media and the Democrats. And the media needs to be held accountable too. There are many different ways and avenues to do this, but they need to start being held accountable by the government, by our justice system. This has gone on long enough. The demonization needs to stop. I just saw before I got on here, MSNBC essentially blaming Charlie for being murdered at a free speech event because what he says will just apparently naturally incite somebody to kill you.
He's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matt.
And that's the unfortunate environment we're in.
It's disgusting. And then the MSNBC host went on to demonize Charlie as he was fighting for his life. That is who they are. It was demonic. And then right after that, you know what I saw? I saw the Democrats on the House floor of the United States Congress during a moment where Lauren Boebert asked for a moment to pray for Charlie and his family. And they shouted her down.
Let's wait a minute. The House will be in order. The House will be in order.
Like I said, absolutely demonic. There is not a good person on this planet of any political persuasion that would behave like this. I don't care if you were my worst enemy. I do not wish you and your family to be in this position. I do not wish for you to be shouted down and your family and children to be shouted down when people want to pray for you. Because it's disgusting, demonic behavior. I don't celebrate people's deaths. because that is disgusting demonic behavior. But that is exactly what not just the fringe left is engaged in. This is the Democratic Party. This is what they are engaged in. And it is time for everybody to say this is unacceptable. This has gone beyond we have differences on policy. This has gone to a place where they are wishing us dead, where they actively use the force of government under Joe Biden to not protect people who were being threatened on a regular basis. And I say this as somebody, I had to work with my local sheriff to get a man arrested who wanted to kill me because the FBI could not be trusted to do their job. That is what the government has become for people like us. We can't trust them to do their job because they have failed us for so long. And Charlie always fought the good fight. You know, I won't go into the whole history, but like Charlie and I, we both took an amicus brief to the Supreme Court about when the government actually tried to censor me and Charlie. And we fought the good fight when many others were not willing to do so. So if you learn anything from Charlie, it is to fight the fight for goodness, for righteousness, for God at every turn without fear, because this is not our ultimate resting place. Our ultimate resting place is somewhere else, and our real goal needs to be that when we get there, we are told we were a good servant here, that we were a good warrior here for God. And that is what we need to be concerned with, not with the day-to-day worries that a lot of us get caught up in. I get caught up in it too sometimes, but my worry needs to be focused on that. And today, Charlie is being told at those pearly gates that he was a damn good servant. And I think that's something at least his friends and family can take pride in. And as somebody that knew Charlie, longer than most, I mean, we kind of came up together after Trump came out in 2015. We came up at a similar time, and Charlie has always been nothing but just supportive of everything I've done. And, with no reason to be, he was a guy who understood that we need warriors to fight in every realm and in any way, in every way, for goodness and for what is right. And I hope that one of many lasting legacies for him is that people like him will end up in government, that they will end up running the United States Congress, that the deranged people that want him dead, that are excited that this happened, that they have to live in the world where the people who were inspired by Charlie run this damn country. That they run it at every facet, at every level, in every state. And that they have to see that Charlie was right. That they have to live to see the day where they realize they were on the wrong side. Because Charlie was right. He was right. He was right to go to the campuses and talk about Jesus when it was unpopular, and many people tried to discourage him and said, focus on the politics. And he spoke about Jesus. Many people tried to discourage him from even talking about the politics. Charlie was not afraid, though. He knew that if you spoke the truth, that people would listen, and it might take a little time, but people were going to get there. And he believed in young people. He believed in young people in a way very few other people believe in young people. We're living in a time where many people want to write off the young, and they say, oh, they're entitled, or they're this, or they're that. Charlie didn't believe that. Charlie had hope and faith in young people that they could be a revival, not just for the church, but for this country, and that they could bring this country to greatness. I'm sure I'm going to have more to say about this. But the thing I'm stuck on is that this was preventable. In many ways, we saw this coming, that this was going to happen. Unfortunately, people like me and Charlie, we did not have the full force of government to go after all the psychopaths that have been threatening people for being conservative. We didn't have the time or runway to go and stop all of the legacy media from doing the demonization that they do on a daily basis. We didn't have the ability to shut down the way the Democrats have operated their activist arms. We couldn't do all of these things, and that includes all of us in this sort of sphere, of folks that are like me and Charlie. We couldn't do it all. We need the government to step in here, and we need them to bring justice. We need there to be a clear way to deal with threats, because for way too long, the plan has essentially been triage your own threats, pay for your own security. Like, do you realize how psychotic it is that I have to pay out of my own pocket to have security at every single event I go to because there are deranged people out there who want to freaking murder me because of my opinions? It is deranged. It's pure lunacy. And the crazy thing is, we're then told that we're somehow privileged. Like, we're privileged for not being able to go to any of these places without security because there are deranged lunatics out there who want to murder us. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. And again, to just stress this point, most of us have done this out of our own pocket, paying for security, either at our homes or also when we're out at events. We have to secure our families and our livelihoods. We have to do so many things people don't even realize. It is insane. All because our country has been afraid to deal with criminals the way you need to deal with criminals. They need to be in prison. It's really that simple. You need to put criminals in prison because in a society, you have two choices. Your citizens can suffer or the criminals can suffer. There is no in between. Okay, I wish there was. I know a lot of you wish there was some in between where there's no suffering, but I live in reality. There is no middle ground. One of us is going to suffer. I pick the criminals. For too long, it has been the citizens. It's not just Charlie. This is our whole damn country. This is every major city. This is the Ukrainian young lady that was just murdered by a psychopath. This is in every city in our damn country. We have allowed the criminals to be in a position of power where we are the ones who suffer. It has to end, period. So all of us, we should be calling our representatives in Congress. I don't care if they're Democrat, I don't care if they're Republican. You call every one of them and you tell them, I want the full force of the United States government to not only hold whoever killed Charlie accountable, whatever group that person was a part of, but every far left extremist group, we want them held accountable. We want every extremist that is plotting to murder people held accountable. We want there to be a plan for how you triage these threats that happen on a regular basis to individuals who are involved in activism, politics, or religion and deal with them. We want you guys to have a real plan to get rid of the criminals. Trump has an opportunity here like no president has ever had, and I think he is going to use it to make this country great, and that is to put these damn criminals in prison where they belong and leave them there. Or give them the death penalty. Honestly, we need a resurgence of the death penalty, and we need speedy trials. We have gotten weak as a country. We have allowed criminals to run this for way too long, and I mean the damn country, because yes, there are crooks in office, and they are just as bad as the criminals in my book. There was a story this week about a man who got released from prison multiple times for violent crimes. He was released and then raped a child. You know what? I don't just want him to get the death penalty. I don't just want him to face justice. I want every Democrat prosecutor and person in power to be charged as an accomplice in the rape. Enough is enough. We have to get tough on crime in a way we have not seen in our lifetimes. The citizens will prosper. The criminals must suffer. That is how you make America great again. People need to feel safe where they live. I don't care where that is. I don't care if it's Democrat City. I don't care if you disagree with me on politics. I still think your child deserves to be safe. I think you deserve to be able to walk down the street at night and not fear being raped or murdered. This all ties in together because, again, there's a commonality here. It's the Democrats. In every one of those cities where you're afraid to walk down the street, you can't blame toxic masculinity. The real person to blame is your leftist prosecutor who keeps letting prisoners out of jail or does not charge them. We're talking about violent, hardened criminals. They don't like you. So I don't know what white guilt has pushed you into this position where you want to convince yourself that it is the right thing to do to let criminals out of prison. But please stop. Please stop. I'm Latino, so if you need a minority to tell you, let it be me, okay? I'll use my Latino card. Your white guilt is cleared. Stop letting criminals out of prison. These people hate you. They will hurt you. Or they will hurt your neighbor, but you are partially responsible if you've supported these leftist prosecutors who do not believe in holding criminals accountable. There is vast evidence about this. If you've been watching the mainstream media, stop. Do just a little bit of research with mainstream sources, okay? Like, I'm not asking you to go down some fringe blog here. I'm saying research this in a functional, competent way, and you will come to the same conclusion that I have right now. We need to lock these criminals up. Repeat offenders are the biggest problem in this country. Stop letting them out of prison. Stop. We need harsher sentencing. We need to hold these people accountable on every level. I wish I had the perfect words. I do. But I don't. I'm just stream of consciousness right now because I am so hurt by this. I am so angry. Especially as a father. That's the thing that, like, I've got a photo of my kids over there and I'm looking at it and all the memories that Charlie's kids are not going to have that they should have with their dad. The Democrats are responsible for that. They are. And if we don't say it, if it's not acknowledged, then they can sweep this under the rug. So acknowledge it. They are responsible for this. They did this every time they called us Nazis or fascist, any number of the names they like to call us. I mean, they literally, I saw something this week that I want trans kids dead, okay? These people are psychopaths. We stand for God and country. We will stand in the face of any evil, just like Charlie did. We will speak the truth. We will not cower. We will not fear. We will stand strong. But right now, I think for all of us, we just want to stand up for our brother. I struggled about posting the video of Charlie being shot, and I'm not the end-all be-all resource on whether it's the right thing to do or wrong thing to do, but I can tell you this. If such a thing were to ever happen to me, post the video. Expose the evil. Show people who the left really is. That's the right thing, I think. As awful as it is, as much as I hate it. I hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. I wish we didn't live in that world, but we do. And so, unfortunately, there's some people who will not believe the depths of evil we are facing without seeing it and seeing what motivated them. And also, MSNBC, we need to boycott their advertisers. I have asked for a list. If any of you have a list, get it to me, DM it to me. We are going to investigate and go after everybody who advertises on that demonic channel that attempted to blame Charlie for his own death, for his own murder. Disgusting. Anybody who has that information, let me know. I've asked somebody here to track it down for me. I don't know how any company could advertise in good faith on a channel that does that. Nobody should be advertising with them. It should be a blackout to the point that the company has to make massive changes because this has gone way too far. This is the kind of behavior that got him killed. We need a full accounting of the media that this shooter was watching on a daily basis, because that will tell you a lot. It'll tell you a lot. And hopefully this will be my last thought about guns, because the left is going to attempt to turn this into a gun issue. I've talked to Charlie about this issue before. And let me tell you, The truth is, the guns have not changed in our country. 60 years ago, you could get an AR-15. You did not have people shooting up mass shootings. What changed in the last 60 years is our culture. We are celebrating a culture of death on a regular basis. We have seen institutions like Hollywood and entertainment at large remove God from everything and push hedonism and death and violence into everything that people consume. That is not healthy. We have seen mental illnesses no longer treated like mental illnesses. In fact, we've seen them celebrated. We've seen them treated like they're somehow even better than a normative mind. When you enter that sort of disgraceful reality, bad things happen. It is not the guns, it is the behavior, it is the culture. It is a culture of death that has brought us to the brink, not the guns. 60 years ago, we didn't have this problem. The guns didn't change. We had the same semi-auto handguns, we had the same AR-15s, and this type of mass shooting that we see in the news, it wasn't happening. You know, I know Charlie's case, it was not a mass shooting, but I know the left is going to try to go there and say, well, if we had gun control, maybe this wouldn't happen. That would not solve the problem. The problem is a culture of death. As the most recent transgender shooter said in their own manifesto, no gun law was going to stop them. It was not the gun, it was their intent. They desire to murder somebody. They will find a way. It is the broken, evil heart that we have to heal in this country. It is the broken, evil culture we have to heal in this country. That is the job we have to do, and it's much harder than banning a gun. We all have a right to defend ourselves. And Charlie believed that. I believe that. Our founders believe that. No one is going to get that to stop. You know what? One more thing, last thing. The shooter, let the shooter be remembered as a coward. The shooter was a coward who was too afraid to debate Charlie Kirk, so they shot Charlie Kirk. Think about the cowardice that you have to be so afraid of words or an exchange of a conversation that you think murder is the easier option out. It says something about how good Charlie was at debating, but it also says something about the moral cowardice of the shooter. Debate is something that built this country. Anyone afraid of it is telling you they are on the wrong side of the argument. Period. In fact, I just got invited to speak at an event next month. It's by an organization called SHRM. They're the largest HR organization in the country. Traditionally, they've been viewed as sort of a liberal organization, right? They invited me to speak on a panel about DEI. As many of you know, I've eliminated DEI at a lot of the largest companies in the world. On the other side of that conversation about DEI is supposed to be Van Jones from CNN. Somebody who, in recent days, Charlie had been, going back and forth because Van said some really evil, hateful things about Charlie. And I saw something this morning that I found very interesting. You had a bunch of woke HR professionals, angry as can be, in an absolute riot on LinkedIn, if you can have a riot on LinkedIn, about me being a speaker at this big HR event. Because I don't believe in DEI. But you didn't see anybody speaking up in anger because Van Jones has said that all white people have a brain virus.
Even the most liberal, well-intentioned white person has a virus in his or her brain that can be activated at an instant. And so what you're seeing now is a curtain falling away. And those of us who have been burdened by this every minute, every second of our entire lives are fragile right now.
You didn't see them speaking up that Van Jones demonized Charlie Kirk as a racist this week before Charlie Kirk was murdered. You didn't see them calling for him to be kicked off the conversation. And I wouldn't call for that either. I disagree with Van. I think what he said is disgusting. I'm still happy to sit down and have a conversation because conversations and debate in this country make us stronger, make us better, and it allows us to understand each other. even if those understandings aren't things we particularly like. We live in the same country. Anyone who fears debate is just telling you that they've already lost. Never forget that, because enough is enough. This has to end. And the only way it ends is by doing some very difficult things, and we need to do them. We need the full weight of the executive branch to be brought to bear against extremist groups in this country. We need the full weight of the government, state, local, federal, to bring the full weight down on criminals. A resurgence of putting the citizen first. Our people, their safety need to come first. Our kids need to come before criminals. I don't think that's a radical idea. I think, in fact, that's very popular. I think we can all agree that our kids should come before the due process rights of psychopathic, violent criminals. I think we can stop the games with these drawn out 10-year trials before we can give the death penalty to somebody, or decades until we can give it. You know what? I think in the case of a psychopathic killer where the evidence is all on video, you got DNA evidence, and it's a clear cut, yeah, I did it. You know what? I think you could do the death penalty within a week. I do. And save the taxpayers millions and millions of dollars. I think it's possible. I think you've got to get corrupt people out of power. I think you've got to get judges that actually want our country to succeed. And I think you've got to get weak men out of positions of power, especially weak men. They are plaguing this damn country, and they have been plaguing it for decades. The weakness, that's what gets me. I wish Charlie would have run for office. Charlie would have been a model, because if there's one thing Charlie was not, it was weak. His legacy is going to be long-lasting. You watch. They think they killed Charlie today, these people who are celebrating. You didn't kill Charlie. You can't kill an idea. You can't kill a spirit. You can't kill a soul. You killed a body today. Your movement, leftism, you radicals killed a body. You did not kill the soul. You did not kill the spirit. And you did not kill the thoughts that you found so dangerous. Everything about Charlie is going to live on in millions and millions of people, in young men and young women who are going to be squarely focused on ensuring that this country is great, that you have no power, that you radicals are held accountable, the criminals are held accountable. The political violence from your groups will be a distant memory by the time our children are adults. So, to the leftists that are celebrating, be careful what you wish for. Because I think you actually just made it more likely that we continue to win for generations. People see what you are. The mask has slipped. You have gotten so evil you can't even recognize how terrifyingly disgusting you look when other people see who you truly are. When you let that mask slip, they could see it, and you are vile. The evil is dripping off of you folks who are celebrating this death. So I think you might be happy today. You're not going to be happy tomorrow with what you did. And I keep saying you because the leftist movement is responsible for this. This is not just one shooter. This is a movement of demonizing and demonizing and demonizing, and the end result is some psychopath. I don't know what group they're associated with. I don't know any of that, but I know this. If you continue to message untrue things to deranged individuals, and you demonize and pose us as some existential threat, as if we want to murder people, then some deranged person is going to think it's a good idea to murder us. I have warned about this for a very long time. And, my parting thoughts are, I will do literally anything for Charlie's family. I unfortunately was not close to this wife, never really got to know her. Life gets busy. I have 4 kids, and, Charlie and I in recent times, had kind of just been me going on his show, and we didn't text very much and stuff, but I wish I could change that, but anything I can do, I'm going to ask around to his team. If there's anything I can do, I will do. And I mean for life, for his kids. If there's anything I can do, I will be there. And I know there's so many other people like that I've talked to today that are like, for life, if those kids need anything, we're there, Try to be like Charlie. It's really easy to get afraid to tell the truth. It's really easy to be afraid of being ostracized in the workplace or at school or wherever you are. Fear doesn't get you anywhere. You should want to be great, no matter how long that lasts. And to be great, you have to be good. You have to speak up for goodness. You have to speak up for righteousness and speak up for God and country. So be like Charlie. Speak up for God and country. Tell the truth. Don't be ashamed. Fight the good fight. And never back down.